Ohayo gozaimasu. What's up everyone? So I hope you guys are having a lovely day. It's been a little while since I came to Japan. I've been kind of learning what to do, what not to do, and I thought I might share some knowledge with you guys so that way if you guys ever do come to Japan, you will not have to have the hassle that I had. Does that make sense? Whatever. So here are a list of 7 things that you need to bring to Tokyo. Let's go. I don't know where we're going. We're not going anywhere. Ichiban. So something you absolutely need is cash. And I know what you're thinking. Isn't Japan like super advanced? So why do we need cash? Can't we just use credit cards or Apple Pay or Samsung Pay and stuff like that? So the answer to that is yes. Japan is super advanced in infrastructure and technology, but they still do have a really big cash culture. So it might be a little bit weird depending on where you're from. Now I'm from the States, and for me, I'm used to just using my credit card and my debit card and then just keeping track of my budget that way by seeing how much I'm spending, how much I'm making. However, something that I noticed here is that cash is actually the only acceptable payments for a lot of different things. Like, for example, your Metro card, or even when you go to restaurants. Some places, actually not even some places, a lot of places are cash only. So yes, definitely bring a decent amount of cash. You don't have to bring everything in cash. There are still a lot of places that do accept credit cards or debit cards, but you definitely will need cash. So now that I mentioned it, Niban Metro card. So I'm from Philadelphia, and I'm just gonna say this is probably still an overstatement, but our transportation system is kind of subpar. So in Philadelphia, the trains are always late, subways aren't exactly the best way of getting around town, and also everything's pretty run down. Usually everything is pretty dirty, or it just looks like the train has been there for like 30 plus years, which it probably has been. But that is not the case in Tokyo. Trains and subways are always on time. You can get just about anywhere in the city through the train or the metro. And on top of that, it's way cheaper than a taxi. And also, even though the stuff is older, it's definitely a lot cleaner and it's definitely way more well maintained. But if you do want to use the metro or the train, you will definitely need a metro card. Now in Tokyo, there are 2 different types. There's a Pasmo and there's a Suica. And the one that you buy depends upon which rail line is closest to your house and which one you take most often, and also where your starting and stopping point is. So unlike the US, it's not one company that owns all the metros and all the trains. It's actually a collection of companies that do that. So if you're taking the JR line, you'll most likely need a Suica, and if you're taking the Tokyo Metro, or I think it's called Toei, like I'll put it up here somewhere. If you're taking the Toei subway line, you'll probably need a Pasmo. So your Metro card is basically your pass to most of the city through the subway system. And what's dope about these Metro cards is you can actually load money onto them because you have to for your train fare, but any balance that you have on there, you can actually use it to pay for things like vending machines or convenience or even some restaurants too. Moving on to Sanban, power converters. So this is also dependent on the country that you're coming from. The voltage in Japan and the US is actually the same, so you shouldn't have a problem in terms of charging your electronics and stuff like that. Although I will say that if you have like a computer or you're using a power strip, they usually don't have the 3-prong, so you usually have to buy a converter that has a 2-prong and then goes to the 3. So some places do have power strips set up for your convenience, but that is not a guarantee everywhere that you go. If you're trying to go to like a cafe or a bookstore or anywhere like that to try and get some work done with your laptop, I would definitely take a power converter just so that way you can plug into the wall and you can still get your stuff done. Speaking of power, moving on to Yonban, power banks. So whether you're exploring the city or taking a hike, or you just have a long day and you know you're not going to be able to sit down for a while, the last thing that you want is for your phone to run out of battery. Trust me, it sucks. So these are not that expensive. They're maybe like $20. I got this one as a gift from my uncle. Honestly, it will save you a lot of time, and you can probably charge it the night before you even go out, so that way you don't have to worry about it and you can have peace of mind. Goban, you'll need a phone. So you'll definitely need a working phone. That's probably a given for most of you because most of you are probably my age. You're all connected to Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat. I don't know what anyone else is using nowadays. Probably Twitter. But just because you are connected at home does not necessarily mean you're going to be connected here. So whether you're going to be here for short term and just want to buy a pocket Wi-Fi, or you're going to be here long term and just get a prepaid SIM card, you definitely need a working phone that has a data connection. It's really useful for having Google Maps and also Google Translate, which makes life a lot easier for getting around and also understanding like what you're getting when you're ordering at a restaurant or just things like that. Rokuban. So this kind of depends on the time that you choose to study abroad or the time of year that you come to Japan, but for right now it's fall and apparently it's the wet and rainy season, so you would definitely need an umbrella. So for umbrellas, I would say the bigger the better, but obviously there is a reasonable size that you probably shouldn't go past. You'll notice that umbrellas are really great for keeping you dry, but the bigger it is, usually the harder it is to get around, just because the streets are really crowded, the sidewalks are kind of cramped, and you're probably going to end up bumping into a lot of people. Last but not least, nanaban. You guys are definitely going to want a camera. So whether you're studying abroad or you're working here, you're definitely going to want a camera to document your experience in Japan. So I'm not saying you have to go out and buy a DSLR or mirrorless camera, because those are really expensive, and don't tell your parents that I told you to go out and buy one, because that makes me look bad. But your phone will do just fine. But what I'm saying is take a lot of pictures, a lot of videos, so you can look back one day and sort of reminisce about your time in Japan, your experience here, and you can kind of remember what it was like. For my fellow students out there, you might decide to come back to Japan one day, but it might not be the same because you're working, you have a busier schedule, you don't exactly have the free time that you do as a student. But yeah, so definitely take a lot of pictures, a lot of videos, so you can share it with your friends and your family, and you don't have to do it all on Facebook or Instagram. Also, pro tip, don't spend all day on Netflix, because I did that for like a week, and that was a horrible decision. I realized I missed out on a lot of stuff that I could have done. Alright, with that being said, that concludes my list of 7 things that you should definitely bring to Tokyo. I hope this was helpful, and I hope you guys have a great day. I'll see you guys next time. We're off to adventure. Peace.